When people dream of tropical water retreats, the Maldives often comes to mind first. But what if I told you there's a place with endless waterways, palm-fringed canals, and floating villages where the pace is slower and the culture runs deeper? Kerala's backwaters offer something the Maldives cannot: a living, breathing ecosystem where people have built their lives on water for centuries. No imported luxury, just organic beauty. The houseboats here aren't resorts. They're wooden traditions gliding through mirror-still lagoons. And instead of isolation, you'll find connection to nature, to people, to something quietly timeless. Let's step into Kerala's softer world. Most Kerala journeys begin in Aleppi, the gateway to the backwaters. The town itself is unassuming, a mix of narrow roads, small shops, and canals cutting through neighborhoods. But once you reach the waterfront, everything shifts. The air smells of rain and earth, even on dry days. Houseboats line the docks, wooden and curved like floating temples. You'll likely board one in the late morning, and the first hour is simply adjustment, learning to move with the water's rhythm, not against it. Bring light layers. The breeze on the water can be cooler than you expect. And if you're prone to motion sensitivity, ginger tea helps. Now, let's drift deeper. Once your houseboat leaves the dock, something unusual happens. The world gets quieter. Not silent, but layered with soft sounds. Water lapping against wood, distant bird calls, the occasional voice from a passing canoe. Most houseboats have open-air seating areas where you can sit for hours, watching the landscape unfold like a living painting. The crew, usually 2 or 3 people, will prepare fresh Kerala meals using a tiny kitchen at the back. Expect fish curry, rice, and vegetables cooked in coconut oil. It's simple but deeply satisfying. Some boats offer overnight stays, others just day trips. Either way, resist the urge to fill the time with activity. This is a place for slowing down. Let the stillness do its work. Early mornings on the backwaters reveal a hidden economy. Small canoes paddle from house to house, selling vegetables, fish, flowers, and rice. These floating vendors are part of a tradition that predates roads in many of these villages. If you're staying overnight on a houseboat, you might see them at dawn, their boats heavy with produce, calling out gently to homes along the water. Some houseboat operators will stop so you can buy fresh fruit directly from these sellers. A bunch of small bananas costs around 20 or 30 rupees. It's less about the transaction and more about the moment, the exchange, the nod of acknowledgement between traveler and local life. It reminds you that this isn't a set. It's home for many. Along the backwaters, you'll pass villages that seem suspended between eras. Small homes with tiled roofs and open verandas, children waving from doorways, laundry hung on lines above the water, temples with simple painted walls. There's no grand architecture here, just everyday life lived at water's edge. In some areas, you'll see toddy shops, small informal bars where palm wine is served in the afternoons. Locals gather, talk, laugh. Tourists rarely stop here, and that's intentional. These are community spaces. Respect the boundary. Watch from the boat, appreciate the rhythm, but don't intrude. Sometimes the most beautiful travel moments are the ones you witness, not the ones you enter. Now, let's leave the water for the hills. A few hours inland from the backwaters, the landscape transforms entirely. Munnar sits high in the Western Ghats, surrounded by tea plantations that roll like green blankets over every hill. The air here is thinner, cooler, and carries the faint scent of eucalyptus and wet earth. Early mornings are the best time to explore. Mist clings to the tea bushes, and the hills seem to breathe. You'll see workers, mostly women, moving through the rows with woven baskets on their backs, plucking leaves with practiced speed. Photography is allowed in most plantations, but always ask before photographing people. These are working environments, not tourist attractions. A respectful distance goes a long way. The silence here is different from the backwaters, more alpine, more crisp. Many tea estates in Mannar offer factory tours, and they're surprisingly meditative. You'll walk through rooms where leaves are withered, rolled, oxidized, and dried. The process is slow, methodical, and fills the air with a deep, earthy aroma. Guides explain each step quietly, without rush. At the end, there's usually a tasting room where you can sample different grades of tea. The highest grades are delicate, almost floral. The lower grades are stronger, more robust. Both have their place. A small packet of tea makes a meaningful souvenir, something that carries the scent and memory of these hills. Tours typically cost a couple hundred rupees and last about an hour. It's worth the time, especially if you're someone who finds comfort in watching careful, repetitive work. Munnar is part of the Nilgiri Biosphere, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The name means blue mountains, and on clear evenings, you'll see why. The distant peaks take on a soft indigo hue as the sun sets. There are several viewpoints around Munnar, some crowded, some quiet. Top Station, near the Tamil Nadu border, is less touristy and offers expansive views without the noise. If you visit during monsoon season, expect rain every afternoon. But that rain brings out the green in everything. The hills glow. Waterfalls appear overnight. It's not the easiest time to travel, but it's the most alive. Just bring a good rain jacket and waterproof bag. Let's turn now to something smaller, quieter. Kerala is home to Kathakali, a classical dance drama known for its elaborate costumes and expressive faces. Performers spend hours applying natural pigments to their skin, creating bold masks of color. The stories are often drawn from Hindu epics, the Ramayana and Mahabharata. What's striking is how slow and deliberate each movement is. A single glance can take 30 seconds. The music is rhythmic, hypnotic, built from drums and vocal chants. Many cultural centers in Kochi and Trivandrum offer evening performances, often with a pre-show makeup session where you can watch the transformation. Tickets are usually affordable, around 300 to 500 rupees. Even if you don't understand the story, the visual language is universal. Watch the eyes. Everything is in the eyes. Kochi, also known as Cochin, sits on Kerala's coast and has been a port city for over 1,000 years. The air here smells different. Cardamom, black pepper, cloves, turmeric. The spice markets in the old Mattancherry district are still active, though quieter than they once were. Walking through these lanes feels like stepping into a sepia photograph. Old warehouses, faded signs, narrow alleys. Chinese fishing nets line the harbor, massive cantilevered structures that have been in use since the 14th century. Fishermen operate them at dawn and dusk, lowering the nets into the water, then raising them slowly, hoping for a catch. You can buy fish directly from them and have it grilled at a nearby stall. It's informal, communal, and delicious. Kochi blends history and dailiness in a way few cities do. Fort Kochi, the old colonial quarter, is best explored on foot. The streets are lined with Portuguese-style homes, Dutch gables, and British-era bungalows. Many have been converted into cafes, bookstores, and small galleries. The pace here is unhurried. You'll see cats sleeping on windowsills, elderly men reading newspapers on verandas, cyclists weaving through narrow lanes. St. Francis Church, one of the oldest European churches in India, stands quietly in the center. Vasco da Gama was originally buried here, though his remains were later moved. The church is simple inside, no grand decorations, just wooden pews and white walls. It's a place that invites stillness. Walk slowly here. Notice the small things, the chipped paint, the old tiles, the way light falls through the trees. Kerala is considered the birthplace of Ayurveda, and wellness centers are common throughout the state. These aren't spas in the Western sense. Treatments are therapeutic, not indulgent. Expect oil massages, herbal steam baths, and dietary consultations. Sessions can last an hour or more, and the pace is slow, methodical. Practitioners often ask about your sleep, digestion, and emotional state before recommending a treatment. Some centers offer multi-day programs, but even a single session can feel restorative. Prices vary widely, from budget-friendly local clinics to high-end resorts. If you're curious, start small. Book a single massage and see how it feels. Ayurveda isn't for everyone, but for those it resonates with, it can be profoundly grounding. Kerala's monsoon season, from June to September, is often avoided by tourists. But it's also when the land is most alive. Rain arrives in heavy, rhythmic waves, rivers swell, waterfalls cascade. The backwaters rise and blend into the surrounding fields, creating temporary lagoons. If you visit during this time, expect wet shoes, humidity, and occasional plan changes. But you'll also experience Kerala at its most lush and least crowded. Carry a waterproof bag for electronics and documents. Wear quick-dry clothing. Embrace the rain rather than resist it. Some of the most beautiful travel memories come from moments that didn't go as planned. The monsoon teaches you that. In northern Kerala, particularly in Kannur district, an ancient ritual art called Teyam is still practiced. Performers, usually from specific communities, become vessels for local deities through elaborate costumes, face paint, and trance-like dances. These aren't performances for tourists. They're sacred community events held in village temples and homes. If you're fortunate enough to witness one, approach with deep respect. Remove your shoes, stay quiet, and keep a respectful distance. Photography policies vary. Always ask. Teyam happens mostly between November and March, and schedules are not always publicized. You'll need local guidance to find them. But if you do, it's an encounter with something far older than tourism, a living tradition that exists on its own terms. Kerala doesn't announce itself. It doesn't shout or compete for attention. It simply exists, steady and sure, offering beauty to those willing to meet it at its own pace. The backwaters teach you to drift. The hills teach you to breathe. The culture teaches you to watch, listen, and honor what came before. You won't leave with a checklist of conquered sites. Instead, you'll carry small, soft memories. The sound of water against wood, the smell of rain on tea leaves, the way light moves through palm trees at dusk. These are the gifts Kerala gives to the patient traveler. And perhaps that's the real lesson here, that not all beauty needs to be loud, and not all journeys need to be fast. Sometimes the deepest places are the quietest ones. If this journey through Kerala felt calming, you might enjoy more stories like this in our Calm Travel Guides playlist, where we explore destinations that invite slowness and presence. We also have a cultural calm series, where traditions like Kathakali, Ayurveda, and Teyam are explored with depth and care. Each video is designed to be a gentle escape, a soft place to rest your mind while discovering something new. Thank you for traveling with Peachy Canvas. Until the next quiet journey, take care and go softly.